So a bunch of talented directors hung out, became good friends, and decided they want to make a Halloween horror anthology together. So Tales of Halloween is a horror anthology created by the October Society. The October Society is comprised of 11 talented directors who became friends and decided that they wanted to do movies together. So their first project is a modest Halloween anthology. Now the thing about anthologies is they can be really good, they can be really bad, or they can be a mixed bag. You've got Creepshow 1, Creepshow 2, ABCs of Death, ABCs of Death 2, VHS 1, VHS 2, VHS 3. Then of course you have Trick or Treat, and now Tales of Halloween. So how does this stack up against the rest of the pack? So as always, when it comes to my Halloween Spooktacular reviews, let's start with story. So the premise is pretty good. One neighborhood has been terrorized by every sort of evil that you can imagine on Halloween. This first, but hopefully not last installment of Tales of Halloween is packed to the brim with 10 different stories that focus on 10 different topics. You've got a creature feature, a vengeful demon, a home invasion, a western revenge flick, an urban legend made real, a possession, humans basically acting like monsters, a slasher film, a kidnapping, and a possessed jack-o'-lantern. Some of the stories are very good. They definitely could do for a long-form treatment, but they work as short films also. Some of them don't do so well. But then again, that's the nature of the anthology format. Whether it be book, film, or television, some stories are stronger than others, and of course that's the case here. I thought 5 of these were really solid, 4 of them were okay, and 1 of them was just kind of bad. You've got some pretty great performances by some really talented actors and actresses. Some of them play it serious and some of them really ham it up. It just depends on the story that they're in. The only aspect that I didn't like about this anthology is there are a lot of innocence taken out in various stories. Now, I know that's part of horror and I can dig that sometimes, but I prefer to see bad people get what's coming to them. That's just me though. I thought the overall tone of the movie would definitely be different visually because you've got 11 different directors making these films. But every single one of them has really great lighting, lots of colors and stuff. It gives you that comic book feel, that Creepshow feel. While the overall look of the film is pretty solid across board, the parts where it kind of falters is on the transition. Some of them end a little bit too abruptly. Some of them even start a little bit abruptly and you're kind of wondering what's going on. And some of them are shorter than others, so you don't really get a lot of time to figure out their visual language as much. But for the most part, it looks good. The editing is solid. It definitely goes with what they're trying to do. There's a ton of great visual effects using smoke and haze machines, which there always should be in a good horror film. You get those light beams, you get the fog. It just adds to the atmosphere. Cinematography, for the most part, is pretty solid. There are a few shorts that have standouts, with really cool movements or, longer takes. While a lot of the others are your typical, what a TV show would look like. For the most part, the film score is pretty effective. Most of the shorts use this 80s pulsing, synth John Carpenter-esque music. And the few that didn't use that style definitely were going for something else, like one of them is actually more of a revenge western. Ambient sounds across the board were pretty great. They also used diegetic sound pretty well throughout a lot of these shorts. You have some movie clips, you have some radio stuff, but it all ties into whatever's happening on screen. So it looks good and it sounds good, but is it spooky? From the get-go, the atmosphere of this film just keeps building up, and as each short happens, they all tie together more and more. I really liked the introduction. It reminded me of the Amazing Stories series. A lot of you won't know what the hell I'm talking about because I'm old. And of course, using Adrienne Barbeau as a DJ like she did in The Fog to tie together all the stories was really good too. Of course, the spookiness was enhanced by the visuals and the sound like I talked about earlier. There is a ton of stuff that aids the Halloween aesthetic that they're going for in this film. And a lot of movies, they really underdo it, but this one, it's just right. It's not too much, it's not too little. And one of the stories actually even plays with that whole theme of people decorating their houses and trying to outdo one another. And I thought that was a pretty good one. There isn't too much CGI in this. Most of it is practical effects. And of course, that gives the world a grittier, more realistic feel, even though it's all fanciful stuff that they're showing. The only thing that really hurts the atmosphere, the spookiness of this movie are a couple of the stories where they get a little too hammy. It's kind of out of place, especially after some of the serious tone that some of the stories have. They really should have tried to balance them out or do them in a different order. But for every goofy one, there are a couple of serious ones or ones that have the right balance of humor and horror. My favorites are probably the first and last one because they have the right amount of gore. My favorites are probably the first and the last one because they have a great balance of gore, of humor, of horror, that nice tone that you want when you're watching something that is kind of Halloween related. Throughout the whole movie, you have a lot of great jump scares. There are a couple of weak ones that you see coming, and they don't really have the timing quite there. And like I said earlier, some of these stories really know how to build up that tension and then pay it off with a good jump scare. But for me, when it comes to scares or violence or gore, it really should have a reason to happen. It shouldn't be just random. I've never been a fan of jump scares when they're fake outs, like cats or whatever, unless they are aiding in kind of breaking that tension, making you relax, and then later on it builds up more and it scares the crap out of you, like Exorcist 3. But in this one, some of the scares were just kind of out of place. Now, the majority of these shorts are blood and gore free, but the ones that have it really go for it, and I love that. As a matter of fact, some of these scenes are so gory and kind of gross. Not to me, I thought they were fantastic, but to the normal viewer, that they might find them frightening. So they are in themselves a scare. Anyway, all that being said, let's get to the summary and my score.
And now the moment we've all been waiting for is here.
We're out of time.
It's Judgment Day.
Tales of Halloween is a horror anthology, and of course, like most anthologies, it definitely has an uneven tone and an uneven quality in the presentation of some of the shorts. But overall, it has a lot of great stories and great scares. It's not Trick or Treat, it's not Creep Show or anything like that, but it's worth watching, and that's why I'm giving Tales of Halloween a 6 out of 10.